Donald Trump is back at the White House this week meeting with President Joe Biden and promising a smooth transition, unlike what he did, by the way. Trump has also been busy with lots of announcements about his cabinet advisors. The one that is, they started off normal, Susie Wiles, Marco Rubio, and now we're at the Matt Gaetz' pick for Attorney General. And Fox News weekend host Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. We'll get to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's leading the Department of Government Efficiency, or as I'm calling it, the Department of Grotesque Egomaniacs, or the Department of Grandstanding Edgelords. This is like gets weirder and fucking weirder. And this is your initial thoughts on this cadre is offensively unqualified sycophants, as one writer called them. Also in the mix, Russia's best friend, Tulsi Gabbard, for Director of National Intelligence, and Kristi Noem, killer of dogs, for Homeland Security Secretary. Chuck Todd posted these confirmation hearings may just save cable TV for the short term. He got sort of dinged for it, but I would have to agree. First, before whether they'll make it through, overall thoughts, it just degenerated. It was like, okay, and then no. Like that kind of thing. What do you think?
Well, there's some additional announcements that have come out. He's announced that Sue Sylvester, Jane Lynch's character from Glee, is going to lead the Department of Performing Arts. And also, Lea Michele will lead the Department of Punctuation and Spelling. Also, I don't know if you heard the most recent one, Gob Bluth from Arrested Development, Will Arnett's character, is going to be the new Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.
Oh, my God.
And also, Baron Harkonnen from Dune will head spice production on the planet of Arrakis.
Nice.
Look, I now believe that the appointment or the floating of the idea of Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, within about an hour, Lisa Murkowski, or Senator Murkowski, who I love, basically said, that Matt Gaetz is an unserious candidate, and I look forward to vetting a serious candidate. I think this was them saying, you're a loyalist, give him something. And what they've done, I think, is run cloud cover for just a shitty pick as opposed to a fucking crazy, stupid pick. And that's what Matt Gaetz is to be AG. That just makes no sense. And then if you really want to talk...
It's called a loyalty test for Senate Republicans and their newly elected leader, Senator John Thune. They all were pushing for Rick, whatever the Florida idiot.
Rick Scott?
Rick Scott. He was the one that MAGA was pushing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think Rick Scott is an idiot. I don't love his politics, but...
Oh, my God. He made a mess of the Senate committee he was running.
100%, but he's at least competent. He's elected. I don't know. Look, perfect is not on the menu here. I mean, when Senator Rubio looks like a thoughtful pick with gravitas for Secretary of State, everyone's just hoping for someone who has some administrative and some leadership experience. But my favorite is that there are not one, but two heads of a committee on efficiency. I mean, that kind of tells you...
Yeah, I know.
This makes no fucking sense. And
Are you kidding?
And I just want to...
It's like the Grace Commission, right? Do you remember the Grace Commission under Reagan? He was going to drain the swamp, and he created that commission of leaders to cut everything.
The private sector survey on cost control to reduce government waste. Clinton had it, launched the National Performance Review. W had the president's management agenda. Obama had efficiency reforms, and Trump created the Reform Task Force to eliminate inefficiencies. He attempted unsuccessfully to shut down 19 agencies. And this is a popular political move. 2/3 of Americans think the federal government is wasteful and bureaucratic. But let's just look at some data here. Trump is by no means our most efficient president. Federal employment under Trump rose 3.4% during his first term, compared to an increase of 1.3% in Obama's second term. Federal employment did increase by over 6% under Biden. Despite all the rhetoric, the U.S. government spends less as a share of GDP than its peers. U.S. government spending is projected to be about 38% of GDP. That's less than Japan, which spends 42%, UK 43%, and Germany at 48%. The U.S. public sector, which they claim is overstaffed.
Well, they do more for their citizens, but go ahead. Yeah.
True. The U.S. public sector employs 14% of workers, which is more than Germany's 13% and Mexico's 12%, which connotes, based on what you said, is probably inefficient, but less than France's 21% and the UK's 23%. Now, let's just specifically go to the pick of Elon, or First Lady Melania, to head an efficiency. Let's just talk about efficiency at Tesla. the automobile industry, revenue per employee is $1.07 million per employee at BMW. GM, 1.02 million per employee. Ford, $980,000 million per employee. Mercedes-Benz, $950,000. Toyota, $760,000. And pulling up the rear as the least efficient of these companies is Tesla clocks or registers revenue of $740,000 per employee. So the least efficient car company revenue per employee is Tesla. So anyways, I find the whole thing, it'll be very interesting. They claim they're going to cut this thing by, I don't know, $2 trillion, which means they'd have to
Nobody didn't mention it in the press release. No numbers, like he went on and on Twitter, but of course, like that's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Anyways, I'm finding this thing is so, if you're going to be dumb, don't be dumb, be outrageous. No one's really taking this seriously because it just seems so outrageous.
No, even congressmen were like, yeah, he can ask. We're not doing it. Even the Republican ones. The Gaetz nomination is interesting only because what's interesting about this is, of course, his behavior with young women underage. He resigned from Congress on alleged Gaetz, whatever. Resigned from Congress on Wednesday, days before the House Ethics Committee was set to vote on releasing a highly critical report of their investigation into him.
What is your take? I agree with you that I just think there's a lot of Republicans. First off, the thing I don't think the market or people have absorbed is, as of today, Donald Trump is a lame duck president.
Yeah,
and he's not going to have nearly the power to intimidate Republicans. And I got to think it's going to be very tempting for Republicans on a pick like this to go, to basically pull a Murkowski and say, this is not a serious candidate. I got to think the Trump administration realized he probably wasn't going to be able to get Gaetz through, but they did it anyways. What do you think they're trying to do here? What's their end game?
I don't know, because they're frittering away an amazing victory, right? It seems like now we're like, oh God, the idiots are back. Like, I don't know. He has such an opportunity to not fritter away what was a spectacular return to power, and now we're talking about Matt Gaetz and jailbait. That's what we're talking about now, like as opposed to like what he could be doing, and Elon doing these stupid, he's calling it the Manhattan Project of our time. It's gonna blow up in their face. That's why it's the Manhattan Project of their time. Like, it's such a waste of opportunity here, and largely because I think he is of the mind is I'll say something crazy and then I'll say the next thing that's crazy and the next thing that's crazy. But I'm talking about being effective, and this is not effective in any way. If he really, maybe over to the right, they're like going to be deporting people and hoping that people don't notice that if it's particularly ugly looking. And so I honestly, I think there's no planning here, and I think they're just letting people. And interestingly, I think the Doge thing is just fucking nonsense. It's just ridiculous. And, you can't really, there's not going to be a government department, which is kind of ridiculous. And you need to be created with Congress's authorization. They're not wasting their time on that. And they're going to cut what they want, right? So one of the things that's interesting is that he's been down in Mar-a-Lago. And as I said, was an issue. Everyone's now reporting, how irritating he is. And NBC News quoted a source saying Elon is behaving as if he's co-president. People are irritated by him, the guests that won't leave. I think this is just, they're frittering away what was a clear and definitive win. And I'm not sure why they're doing it. Suicidal nature, I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know. I do think that the appointment of the Bass Pro Shop swimmer guy as head of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service makes sense. I don't. And Roman Roy will be the new deputy administrator of NASA.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't get. Hannibal Lecter is the new Secretary of Health and Human Services. Oh God. I don't get. By the way, I'm still on BuzzFeed
what a
right
laughable,
now.
ridiculous personality she is. They're all Fox News people.
You know who I like though? Who's now the new Senate Majority Leader is Thune.
Yeah, Thune.
I like him. Reasonable. I think he's reasonable. And not only that,
he pushes back on Trump.
And not only that, he's very handsome, Kara.
Yeah, you like him. Did you go out for drinks with him?
He's very handsome. I don't know if he'd be up for impromptu drinks with me and George Hahn. I'll try, but I'm not sure. I'm going to give you a word of the day. It's called kakistocracy, government by the least suitable or competent citizens of the states.
a state or society governed by the least suitable or competent citizens. The modern regime is at once a plutocracy and a kakistocracy. That is the word of the day here.
Okay, no joke. I heard that word an hour ago. Scott Burns, who's the showrunner and the writer on this show I'm working on, said, was talking about rebranding the Democratic Party, and someone suggested kakistocracy, and he's like, "Are you crazy? No one can spell that word." Anyway, no joke. I feel like I should throw salt over my shoulder or whatever it is you do when you're I don't know, superstitious. But I heard that word, no joke, 90 minutes ago.
It's the word of the day. It's the word of the week. Well, we'll see what happens.